While a speech is to bring peace, introduce, or educate things, I've always wanted to make a speech on the workings of a mechanical watch. With materialistic things being readily available at our fingertips, we usually don't look into the time and effort that's been put into manufacturing something. Well, yeah, with the birth of automation, the amount of time and effort that's been put into something has reduced phenomenally, and so has our appreciation for it. But astonishingly, one of the most complicated mechanical instruments, the watch, is almost completely assembled by hand, and the craftsmanship put into it is astounding. Today, I'm going to be taking you head first into the world I'm so passionate about and show you why I love the world of watches. The idea behind telling time was always present. Earlier times used sundials and candles that were precisely crafted to tell time. Later on, in the 11th century, is when we got the mechanical clocks that used a pendulum escapement. The first ever portable mechanical watch was invented by Peter Henlein, and no, it looked nothing like our conventional watch. It looked like a globe, and it was worn around a person's neck or in their waistband. It only had one hand showing the hours. Minute hands were later invented in the 17th century, and with time we got a present kind of wristwatches and pocket watches. Watches in the past were used for a lot of things, like this pulsometer that was used to find heart rate of a person, or this chronograph that was used to find the speed of an object. Even check moon phases. Some watches were even used to do complex calculations on the fly. Truly a work of art, aren't they? They work in perfect harmony, despite how chaotic our days would get. But how do they work? Too complicated, honestly, but in simple terms, watches have four main parts: the power reserve, the escapement, the balance wheel, and the time indicator. The power reserve is this nearly foot-long coil that stores the energy given to it by winding the watch, which is then taken in very specific increments by the escapement mechanism. This lever-like contraption that moves this crooked gears 6 times a second, which measures time. The movement of this escapement mechanism is what gives us the iconic tick-tick sound. There are many kinds of escapements, but this is the most common one, and it's called the lever escapement. The escapement fork is moved by what is something called as the mainspring or the balance wheel. It uses weights and tensions on the spring to move back and forth like a pendulum, which moves the fork. This energy is then transferred into small tiny gears and directly into the time indicator, and it shows time. Truly fascinating how these things were created by us. Why buy these things? It's like buying a car. Sure, a sedan can do the trick, but the sheer thought of owning a Mercedes or an Audi just makes us want one. But just like cars, watches aren't for everybody. But in fact, watches are one of the most reliable places to invest in. Just take this Rolex Datejust for example. Its price increased in just 3 years. Watches almost never reduce in price because these are pieces of high level craftsmanship and quality. They almost always retain their price or increase in price depending on time, availability, and demand. An example would be from the Patek Philippe lineup. A Patek bought 10 years ago still retains its value, and most of them even increased in their value. Watches are a very reliable and an amazing place to invest in. But don't get me wrong, it's not the price tag that upholds the value of a watch, it's more like the experience and the memory associated with it. Which brings me to my next point. Watches can act like a beacon from the past. That one decision that changed your life, a watch that shows your love to another, a watch that seals a deed. Each timepiece has its own story, from its maker to its wearer. These watches are always on trend. Omega, FP Journe, Cartier, some of the most accomplished and oldest watchmakers in history, and every single timepiece they create speaks of craftsmanship and quality. Watches can live forever. They can be handed down to generations, maintaining their pristine and grandeur value. They were computers of a past era. Today we can see our most favorite and prominent figures splurge their money on these watches, not to store in a glass cage, but to wear them and cherish their existence and get a kick of history, craftsmanship, and mechanical complexity. In the end, watches are just that. An object from the past, a relic whose craftsmanship has been passed on for decades, and will be. Thank you.